Hey, Team 300, welcome to, Mod 7. And it kind of takes your breath away. When you're busy and you're working and you're juggling a crazy schedule, time just seems to get by, and sometimes it gets away from us. So the windows are closing now relative to revision opportunities, etc. If there's an incomplete to be had, okay, 70% of your work has to be successfully completed before that can be authorized through the registrar's office, okay? Again, I beseech you to go to the Writing Center if you have any issues. We do have a newly assigned criminal justice peer tutor by appointment only, so the help is there. So please take heed to my comments in your writing relative to your ability to be articulate and specific. As you'll see, as you have seen throughout the mods, and will continue to see through Mod 7 when we talk about, when the book speaks about evaluation research, in other words, what's already in progress and is it working, that requires subsequent research. And I've been involved in that when I was a police officer. If you had told me back in my undergrad days that I would be doing that, I would have thought you were crazy, but that's not true. We have to justify what we do, and we'll get to that. So in Mod 6, you know that you were there to evaluate patterns in the criminal justice research and the system itself, and what kind of trends do develop. You do evaluate research data. Now, what does the word evaluate mean? Okay, it's an assessment. You're looking to see if it's effective. Was there integrity? Were the ethical considerations in place and put in place by the researchers that you have identified very well, by the way, okay, with some excellent resources? Did they keep these guideposts in safe? Did they show to you, the reader, the studier, whatever, that what they were doing, okay, was whole, sound, valid, and ethical? How did they preserve that? You need to understand those things, and the only way you're going to do that, really, gang, is to read. You have to read the textbook. You have to read, okay, what's been written, all right, for criminal justice or police science research. You see how they do these things. You also were there to correlate conclusions to research and supporting data. So, does the data match, meet, and support what they found out? That's incredibly important for us in our industry, extremely, because it does have a direct correlation to a relationship to deployment, hiring, etc. And the almighty research question. Developing an effective research question is not an overnight sensation. It takes time. It also takes looking at how research questions are developed. Okay, it's not a generalized inquiry. You've got to be very specific, because remember, as I told you before, you're not looking to solve an entire problem. You're looking to just contribute analysis to an existing problem, and it can be just a small piece of that pie. All right, so like the fentanyl issue, are you going to research the reasons why fentanyl is overwhelming and overtaking states like New Hampshire, et cetera? No, you're going to look at one particular asset, a variable, okay, that is part of the cause in your mind as you've developed your theories. Why is this happening? So I saw some people did a very, very good job of being very specific, simple, and concise, but some people overgeneralize. And remember, it's your word selection that you put into that research question, okay, that can keep your research on a narrow focus path or blow it out of proportion and make it absolutely impossible to conduct. Okay, we'll just send you in 1,000 different directions. This is where the reading comes in. This is where you look at research that's been done and already look at what previously acceptable or whatever research questions look like. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, and you can't shoot from the hip. All right, don't guess. All right, so good. You also had to read basic research methods for criminal justice and criminology. You knew that about theory and management, a measurement that's very short. There was a New York Times article about the Ferguson, Missouri incident. Very, very good article ongoing. I will be looking to interview the chief of Ferguson within the next week or so, and hopefully I'll have the podcast ready for everyone before you exit the course. Other questions that came up: what patterns have you observed in the commentary related to the topic, etc., i.e. the debates. Very good debate over body cameras for police officers. I sent you a link of a roundtable panel discussion they had on Boston Public Television, GBH. I thought you might find that interesting because it is a hot topic and will continue to be in terms of police accountability and how do you successfully analyze a particular device in relationship to what we consider to be effective public safety. And in responding to your peers' force, you want to suggest what you anticipate criminal justice professions and what they'll need to do in terms of research the next 1 to 3 years in order to address the patterns identified, etc. And then developing, again, the research question. You would outline the assumptions and limitations of your research question, all right? Those are critical. If you don't understand what an assumption means, check it out in the dictionary. It's very important what this means in terms of research. Okay, it's not guessing. Always, at this juncture, it's critical you understand, have a good handle on at least basic criminological theory. That's really important. We operate on that. Nothing is developed out there in terms of program processes or whatever, okay, deployment, like I said before, without some form of criminological theory or theories at the helm, at the beginning, at the foundation. Outline which data you were to present your final project. So again, everything you're doing in this course is a build, as you well know. You're putting this together in chunks, all right, for assessment and analysis. But again, I can't remind you enough, you need to write well. This is a university research course, and you have to be specific, articulate, your grammar has to be effective. You cannot use slang, colloquial. You can't say I think or I feel, all right? You have to, your information has to be supported by fact and citation. You've got to do that. That's how we write in our world. This is not just a one-off research course, as I've mentioned before. It really does give you the strength you need to be a great communicator in the problem-solving industry. Because as you well know, not to be melodramatic, most, if not all, the problems that have involved the police and the public come down to one thing, and that is effective communication or a lack thereof. And that's why this course is outstanding in its relevance to how good we have to be at problem solving and communication. You're not going to solve a problem with slang. You're not going to be able to testify, okay, before a committee, a Senate subcommittee, a legislative committee, or in front of a courtroom if you use slang. If you make mistakes in grammar, they're going to ask you, and I say those people that are vetting you relative to a policy or something you've done research on, and they're going to say, did you write this? I'm not sure if I understand it. If they don't understand it, it's over, right? I'm telling you from experience. I'm not meaning to chastise. I'm just saying this is the way the world works, okay? And I want you to be excellent. I want you to succeed, okay? And I'm sure, and the other officers in this classroom will tell you, this is a great, great profession. It's worth it. It's worth the hard work. So in Mod 7, this module here you're embarking on will review the ways in which research data can change the future direction of agencies within the criminal justice system. And I'm telling you, we have to be Johnny on the spot. We have to be very nimble. We have to be able to be amorphous. We have to be flexible. We have to make adjustments on the fly, but we have to do it with the support of analysis and or i.e. research. It's incredibly important. We just don't take a guess and say, hey, why don't we put 30 more people on the street to stop the drug problem? Okay, well, there's a $1.2 million investment. Who's going to authorize that? And based upon what information? And how specific and articulate will the chief or the administration of the department be before the powers that be to say, this is what we need, and this is why this is what we need, I need that money, and this is why. Well, they're going to say, show me the numbers before I show you the money. So in this 7, that we're talking about developing, honing, refining your research question. You're going to correlate your conclusions to research and supporting data. Articulate evidence-based conclusions. Articulate means being specific and clear. Validate a conclusion using the data from either qualitative or quantitative research methods. If you don't understand the difference between the two, get back into the textbook and read about it. All right? Read about what those mean in terms of methodologies to find that would be best suited for a problem to find the truth. Is it a survey? Is it an interview process? Is it quantitative relative to a rate or trend of activities? You've got to distinguish between those and be able to tell me that you understand those, okay, and teach me. Describe the measures taken in a given research study to reduce bias as part of a research report. Okay, continuing on with Mod 7. There's an excellent video in here, in a TED Talk with former New Jersey Attorney General Ann Miller, how she discusses the importance of data-driven research in assessing whether implemented policy changes are having the effective desire on crime reduction. Okay, on the hot seat, but she's got to be able to have the facts and the figures and to be articulate and clear. Okay, and I have a video for you of the chief of Phoenix as well. I want you to look at that and listen to how articulate she is and how well grounded she is in terms of what she understands and how she explains it, because she's on the hot seat. Reading involves basics of research methods for criminal justice. There's your textbook, Chapter 11, Evaluation, Research, and Problem Analysis. All right? We constantly go back to the drawing board to see if what has been done is actually effective and working, because it requires people and money, for starters. All right, so this chapter here provides insight into how informed, data-driven conclusions impact the CJ system. This is extremely important, right? As many policing or CJ policies are always, right? If you watch the news, we're under constant scrutiny and analysis, and rightfully so when you're talking about policing a free society. And for me, as an example, I came on the job in 1979, retired in 2002. I saw a lot of changes and adjustments based upon policy and research. For example, I went from the SAP to the Billy Club to a device known as the PR-24. And finally, before I retired, they went to the expandable baton. Now, these are defensive assets that police are trained upon extensively. So each has undergone, each time they went, does this work? They went after and basically look at policy-related analysis relative to the effectiveness of these assets, okay? And for effectiveness, liability, and recognition of trends, trends in the acceptable use of force. And if you can't formulate a position with data, statistics, and analysis, all right, it really, but if for nothing else, it will leave you really with problems. And you're always trying to play catch up. And it usually means the demise of an administrator or a chief if they don't do these things. So we don't, no pun intended, shoot from the hip. Final project. The relevance of this. Please, gang, read your rubric. I encourage you to print it out and have it as your guide next to your keyboard, all right, your checklist, your guideposts. Read through it. If you have questions, call me. All right, so the fundamental responsibility of us, our criminal justice personnel, is based on sound decision making. We use the scientific method within criminal justice investigations processes. It allows investigators the opportunity to base their findings on factual data and ethical reasoning. This is especially important within the field of criminal justice because the decisions made undergo tremendous scrutiny, do you think? From entities such as the media, the judiciary system, and the general public at large. Creating literature reviews, what has been written about the problems you have to take care of, is a very common practice when we have to explain trends within our field. This is important. All right? We just can't guess. It can't come from the hip. It just can't be any supposition or assumption. All right? We base what we do on what has already been said and accepted in our field as the truth. For example, as a criminal justice representative, you may be tasked with explaining why calls of domestic violence have increased in a specific area in your jurisdiction over a certain period of time. That will happen. The officers in this classroom, I guarantee you right now, they've been on the hot seat for this. It is your responsibility to gather and interpret data, analyze criminological theories, make use of the scientific method to offer an explanation for the increase. Read, as well as an effective avenue of resolution. So in the final project that you're working on, you will practically apply research methods to come to informed conclusions, okay? So here's a great, like I said, here I'm going to post this quote script in the announcements, and here's a link to a YouTube video where the chief of Phoenix is responding to the immigration policy in Phoenix, Arizona. And I want you to pay attention to how clear, articulate, and accurate she is. She does a remarkable job, okay, on camera, answering to policy development And there is a direct correlation in relationship to how well they do their research and analysis before they react, underreact, or overreact. Very critical job. And I guarantee you, I will put $1,000 on this. That chief took a research course at some point in time and did a really good job. Anyway, please download your final project guidelines rubric. Use that as your step-by-step guide for success. If I recommend you go to the Writing Center, you've got to go. Okay? We are closing the door on revision opportunities because the course is almost over. So you need to take your work. Any questions, go to the Writing Center. They are phenomenal people. They are great and they work quickly and help you with your grammar, punctuation, APA, formatting. That's important. Okay? So with that said, have a great week. It's October 15. All right? Have a nice, relaxing Sunday evening. Plan your week. Get out that calendar and say, I'm going to do this, this, and this week. And everybody who needs me is going to have to just leave me alone. This is my selfish academic time to pay attention to a very critical juncture in the course and one of the most important courses you're going to have in any undergrad criminal justice program. How do I know that? Because I've been there. I get it. It's not easy. But nothing worth it in my world is ever easy.